Resolute sawmill workers off the job indefinitely. The Thunder Bay Police Service wrestles with mounting legal bills. And the new consolidated courthouse moves closer to completion.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Workers at a local sawmill and the union that represents them are left scratching their heads tonight following an indefinite shutdown.
Nearly 200 employees at the Resolute sawmill on the Fort William First Nation were sent home today without pay, and there is no word from the company on just when they'll be returning to work. A meeting was called at the mill this morning at 11. All staff on shift were informed they were being sent home without pay for an indefinite period of time. Unifor National Representative Marvin Papiza says it's the most bizarre thing he's seen in more than 30 years on the job. A Resolute spokesperson says the shutdown comes after a health and safety incident at the mill yesterday. There have been 3 incidents so far this year, and the company feels that's too high. But Papiza alleges Resolute is trying to reduce the size of the Joint Health and Safety Committee. He feels penalizing all staff over a safety issue is ridiculous.
Why are 175 people being penalized because of this incident or the other 2 this year? And as I said, there's been 3 recordable incidences this year. Why is everybody being penalized? And it's a discipline case as far as we're concerned. The grievance has been filed, or if it hasn't, it will be filed before the end of today. And we'll go through the processes and hopefully get this issue into arbitration as quick as possible.
The company says there is no timetable for the, quote, safety break to end at the sawmill.
The Anishinaabe Nation is spending the next 3 days discussing legal issues on their 49 reserves. The discussions about First Nations representation in the Canadian legal system will include members from various Nan communities, along with chiefs and mainstream legal representatives. Cheryl Holmes reports.
The Nan-wide Justice Summit is aiming to improve how justice is administered in the Anishinaabe Nation communities. The 3-day summit also looks at how to better represent the Aboriginal community on jury roles, while also touching on restorative justice and reintegration into society.
So I think the important thing for us is to work in partnership with everyone that's here and to look for ways how we can make things better for our community.
Members from the Nan community will also discuss how to better include traditional forms of dispute resolution, both within their own communities and within the Canadian justice system. Communities want to be provided with a plan coming out of this unique event to better position themselves and their people legally.
Another priority for those of us at this conference is for communities to be given resources for them to begin to rebuild the traditional justice systems that have been there for a long time.
The 3-day event features a number of seminars and workshops. On Wednesday, Frank Yakabuchi will be discussing First Nations representation on juries. The summit wraps up Thursday with a sharing circle where community leaders will discuss what was learned and what can be expected coming out of this, and a plan of action that will be brought to the government.
We have people who can make things happen here, and we want to develop not just a set of recommendations, but a work plan, a time frame, and how it's going to be funded. So it's all very, very exciting.
Cheryl Holmes, TBT News.
Concerns were raised today about how much the Thunder Bay Police Service spends on legal fees each year. The amount, which is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, has the Police Services Board looking at alternate options when it comes to seeking outside legal advice. And complaints are pouring in over the amount of time people have to wait to get a criminal records check here in the city. Courtney Rutherford has more.
The speed in which criminal record checks are completed in the city is something that the Police Services Board is taking a hard look at, with numerous complaints that it simply takes too long. Chief of Police J.P. Levesque says there's a huge number that needs to be completed, and it's going to take a while. That issue has the police board looking at alternative options.
They've become really prevalent when it comes to volunteering and employment. So in a lot of cases, people require them for employment. We're inundated with them. We have a lot. If an individual, as we saw in the open session, an individual complaining that the process took a long time and he was missing opportunities for employment.
Levesque says they are working with the RCMP on a solution. Meanwhile, Police Board Chair Joe Verderamo says the board is concerned when it comes to how much money they are dishing out each year when it comes to paying legal fees. Discussions were raised about hiring their own lawyer down the road. But with the projected legal fees for 2014, they are staring at over $300,000 already.
We're not happy that there is a variance right now. I think it was in the negative. However, it's in tune with what's happened in the past years, and you really can't predict when you develop a budget how much overtime you're going to have or what kind of issues come up. As we just talked about legal, so we're in the ballpark. So we're trying to do our best with that.
Additionally, the police board is starting to prepare for the inquest into the deaths of 7 Aboriginal teenagers this April. Verderamo expects that will cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, which aren't in the initial budget. That discussion will be brought up in the coming months. Courtney Rutherford, TBT News.
A former Thunder Bay OPP officer has been charged with possessing child pornography. 47-year-old Peter Williamson was arrested on Sunday. Up until 2007, Williamson was a 13-year member of the OPP. He resigned after being convicted of extortion and counseling to traffic in cocaine after a sting operation in 2006. Thunder Bay police say this latest investigation began in mid-August when detectives were notified that a man was possibly in possession of child pornography images. That led to the search of a North Edward Street home last month. A computer, Xbox gaming console, and flash drives were seized by police and examined. Williamson has been released from custody with a future court date of December 13th.
The construction of Thunder Bay's new consolidated courthouse is nearing completion. Despite a few delays this past summer, officials with the firm in charge of the project say they are still on track to finish by the end of the year. That means the courthouse could be operational early in 2014. Ryan Bonazzo got inside the new facility this morning and brings us a sneak peek in this report.
This is one of 15 courtrooms located inside Thunder Bay's new courthouse. This room will be used mainly for civil trials, divorce hearings, and things of that nature. Many of the biggest upgrades over the courtrooms currently in use here in the city are technological ones, says the plenary group's Hafiz Habib.
There's different elements for cameras, video conferencing capabilities, different microphones. There is the opportunity to video in testimony and witnesses, and also the ability to link these courthouses with other courthouses off-site.
Many of the courtrooms aren't yet at this stage of completion, but they should be soon, as should the rest of the courthouse.
I'm currently up on the 5th floor of the building where construction is mainly complete. Down on the lower levels, though, crews still are hard at work doing some finishing touches, things like painting, millwork, and some flooring. We aren't allowed to take video of that work in progress, but certainly it's starting to come together.
Detail of the stonework, the tile, the different millwork elements, it looks like a brand new facility. It looks state-of-the-art.
And Thunder Bay lawyers are chomping at the bit to get their first look inside.
Our members are anxious to finally get into the new courthouse.
Law Association President Chris Hassio says the new facility will better serve both lawyers and clients.
Because we'll have modern technology, we can present the best case on behalf of our clients. The courthouse, I think, will be more accessible to people, particularly people that are involved in 2 levels of court, if that's the case. Because again, there's often scheduling problems between having a matter scheduled in Ontario Court versus Superior Court.
There have been a few bumps in the road. 3 separate trades worker strikes over the spring and summer delayed some elements of construction. That forced the contractors to resequence some of the work and bring on additional employees.
We had the elevators workers go on strike, terrazzo, as well as the roofers. That did have an impact on the project, and there are measures within the contract to deal with those between us and the province. The important thing is we maintain the overall move date of early 2014 and mitigated as much as possible the impacts of those strikes.
It's welcome news for lawyers like Chris Hassio. He could finally be at work inside the new courtrooms in a few months' time. Ryan Bonazzo, TBT News.
Voters won't be weighing in on the way we select our municipal politicians anytime soon. Councillor Ken Boschkoff wanted to have a question on next year's ballot asking if people wanted to do away with electing ward councillors. But the at-large councillor didn't find a lot of support. Dennis Ward has a wrap-up of last night's meeting.
We do have a good system.
If it's not broke, why fix it was the mantra of many on council over the potential of doing away with the ward system. A majority of council have spoken out against the idea since it was first pitched weeks ago by Councillor Ken Boschkoff. and that opposition continued.
I believe I am aware of what the public wants, and this isn't at all a priority. I agree with other speakers. The system we have is working quite well. If it wasn't, then I probably would be hearing about it.
Councillor Trevor Gertuga had his own idea for changing up the election system for the first time since the two cities amalgamated. He proposed doing away with electing at-large candidates and only having ward councillors, a deputy mayor, and mayor.
Most large centres do have just the ward system. It would give us an ability to save dollars. We could cut the wages of 4 councillors, and we could lead by example to the public on how we can save tax dollars. We would have more efficient meetings, in my opinion.
Neither proposal would gain any significant support, leaving the current hybrid system in place. Earlier in the night, there was unanimous support to express concern over the closure of the local Veteran Affairs office. When Thunder Bay's office closes, the nearest place for service will become North Bay. This council and others are calling on the federal government to reconsider the decision to shut down 9 district offices in the country. Royal Canadian Legion Branch 6 past president Don Oram says it means a lot to have council backing them.
I don't have any hockey player heroes or basketball heroes or football heroes. Veterans, all of them, they're my heroes, and you know, they didn't, these guys are heroes that didn't get paid $1 million a year.
Mayor Keith Hobbs, who brought forward the motion, called the impending closure shameful. Dennis Ward, TBT News.
A 13-year-old girl says she's upset with a recent vote by City Council to remove 11 tamarack trees. And she and other opponents of the move took their concerns to City Hall last night. About 15 people turned out for the rally. This was the first time that Caitlin Radbourne has ever organized something like this, and she was happy with the turnout. Radbourne had hoped to catch the attention of some of the councillors heading into the meeting, but she missed them. She feels taking down the 11 trees sends the wrong message.
I think that if we just start cutting down things that are nuisance, sooner we develop into society, and people just think if it's a nuisance, well, we'll just get rid of it. That's not the way to think. You have to work your problem, work around your problems.
Radbourne is holding out hope the council will decide to reverse its earlier decision to remove the stand of trees. There is still no timetable for when that's expected to happen. Administration says the removal may not occur until next spring.
There will be a change in the leadership of the District Social Services Board's administration. It was announced today that the DSAB's Chief Administrative Officer, Melissa Harrison, will not be returning to the job. Harrison's future has been the subject of speculation for several months. After joining the organization in February of 2011, she went on maternity leave in March of last year. Repeated inquiries to board members over why she had not returned following completion of that leave were unanswered. But today it was announced that Harrison has decided to remain at home for her children's early years. There is no word on who will replace her. Bill Bradica has filled the post in an acting role since Harrison began her leave.
Health Minister Deb Matthews says safety problems at the province's troubled air ambulance service are being fixed after a scathing report on a deadly crash here in Northern Ontario. Federal investigators say Orange failed to protect the health and safety of its helicopter pilots in a crash near Moosonee on May the 31st. 2 pilots and 2 paramedics died after their helicopter went down while they were en route to pick up a patient. The investigators say Orange failed to adequately educate the pilots on the health and safety hazards associated with northern operations, amongst other problems. Orange has been directed to correct all problems by the end of May.
7 months after work first got underway, all of Golf Links Road is back open to the public. Roughly 17,000 drivers a day have been finding different ways around the area while improvements were made. Today, the new traffic lights at Central Avenue and Golf Links were turned on. Traffic is now also allowed to proceed in both directions between Oliver Road and the Harbour Expressway. The near completion of the $7 million project is a major milestone. That's according to City Project Engineer Rick Harms.
There's still some ongoing work to do some landscaping, work on the active transportation trail and some pavement on the east side boulevards. So there will be some intermittent lane closures until the end of the week before we're finally finished for the season.
With the completion of the 4-laning, the city is expecting an additional 3,000 vehicles to use Golf Links each day. The city is hopeful that Phase 2 of the project from Oliver Road to John Street will move ahead next year. Millions of dollars in funding still needs to be secured for that to happen.
Operation Christmas Child is once again looking to make the holidays better for kids all over the world. The organization got some help today from students at St. Paul's School here in Thunder Bay. Students from all grades started collecting items for their Christmas boxes just after Halloween. In total, the kids managed to pack 111 shoe boxes full of school supplies, toys, and the comforts of home like blankets and slippers. The boxes were collected today as part of National Collection Week. They'll be distributed by Samaritan's Purse to less fortunate kids around the world.
It gives the children an opportunity to share what they have, and it gives them a feeling of social inclusion. It helps them realize that there's children in the world who do not have everything that we have.
I filled up two for a boy and a girl because my family thought it would be fair for a boy and a girl to get one so they can both be happy and enjoy shoe boxes full of toys.
People aren't as fortunate during Christmas. They don't get things that we would usually get.
They deserve the stuff that we get, and sometimes we're not grateful for what we get, but if they get something that we don't think is good, they'll love it and think it's awesome.
Kids say the process made them feel happy because they got to help kids who wouldn't have received Christmas presents otherwise. Last year, over 660,000 shoe boxes were donated by Canadians to children in more than 100 countries.
You can expect a lot of laughs and some lewd comments if you attend Cambrian Players' first show of the season. Jenny's House of Joy opens later this week, and it's sure to be a hoot.
Well, my first customer was a Pony Express rider named Johnny Fry. Needless to say, the mail was late that day.
The play is set in 1874 at a brothel in Texas. A new girl shows up, and the story weaves its way in and out of the happenings of the house. Just like last season's opener, the play is written by Norm Foster, so audiences can expect to laugh a fair amount. The all-female cast has a lot of chemistry, which adds to the humor. There are a few lessons in there as well.
A lot of it has to do with relationships between the girls and also between how society views them. And it's really about how they connect with each other and how they're much more closer than just what their jobs are. And that's really important.
Working with these girls has been a lot of fun. Working with Natalie has been a lot of fun. It's my first Cambrian show that I've done, and it's been a lot of fun. And it's only going to get better once we get the audience in and we, feed off them, they feed off us. And so I can't wait till Thursday.
The play contains mature content, and it's recommended that audience members are 16 years of age or older. As just mentioned, the play opens Thursday and continues all weekend with 4 more shows next week at the Paramount.